Okay, so picture this, right? Venice police station, quiet morning.
Yeah, the usual stuff happening.
Exactly. Commissario Brunetti's doing paperwork, the usual grind. And then there's a knock.
And it's not who you'd expect?
Not all. Not like a theft report or a lost tourist, that kind of thing.
No, it's someone, well, different, from a completely different world almost.
And she's carrying these, concerns, hinting something's off, something unusual under that calm Venice surface.
And the sources, they really paint a picture of her. Maria Testa, former nun, Suor Immacolata, they called her.
Right. And her appearance is, well, plain at first glance.
Totally. Old suit, short hair, no makeup, seems a bit awkward. But then you see, or Brunetti sees, this surprising beauty underneath.
Those eyes, the description mentions widely spaced, dark eyes, long lashes.
Yeah, noble nose. It's a real contrast, isn't it? The simple outside and this depth hinted at within.
That contrast is fascinating, and it really it sets the stage for what we're diving into here.
Yeah.
We've got this collection of sources, notes, observations, bits of this police investigation as it unfolds.
All kicked off by this quiet complaint from, well, a very unlikely source. This former nun.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is basically to unpack all that, pull out the key bits of info, follow Brunetti as he starts tugging on these threads.
And some threads are, standard police work, but others, they go into really personal areas or deep institutional stuff.
And it's all set against Venice, isn't it? The sources keep dropping hints.
Oh, yeah. Canals, the Alito, where Maria's staying, the Questura, the police station, Rialto Market, San Polo. You really get a feel for the city.
Even when the topic gets pretty dark.
It's a city of layers, right? Just like this whole situation turns out to be.
Okay, let's start with Maria Testa herself. Who is she beyond just former nun? What actually brings her to Brunetti?
Well, the sources say Suor Immacolata, Order of the Sacred Cross, joined when she was just 15.
15, wow.
Yeah. Stayed 12 years. Now she's trying to start this vita nuova, a new life. Living in a pensione on the Lido, working in a laundry at a clinic.
There's that detail about the laundry, right? Machines now, not...
Not beating sheets on rocks by the river. Yeah, it really grounds you in how different her old life was.
And getting out wasn't simple, was it? This whole deconsecration thing.
No, not at all. The sources describe it as really complicated. Letters, months, maybe years, making sure she was sure.
She felt like she'd been away from the world.
Yeah, or maybe never really knew how it worked in the first place. Which makes her Dante reference interesting.
Purgatorio. Brunetti prefers it, apparently. Sees it as about change.
Exactly. Unlike the fixed states of heaven or hell, he kind of sees Maria as being like someone just out of the egg, ready for this new life.
But she pushes back on that a bit, doesn't she? When he seems maybe a little condescending.
Oh, absolutely. She's sharp. So she left her vocation,
Yeah.
not my wits.
Good for her. It shows she's not naive, despite everything.
Right. And it's that perception, that intelligence that leads her to Brunetti. Her actual complaint, 5 deaths.
5 deaths in the last year at the San Leonardo nursing home. The one staffed by her order.
And she's got a list of names. She came prepared.
But 5 deaths? I mean, it's a nursing home. Couldn't that just be natural causes?
Oh.
Old age?
That's the thing. It could be. But she had this gut feeling, this strong sense that the number was just strange, wrong.
And she didn't go straight to the police.
No, the sources are clear on that. She tried the internal route first, went to her confessor, Padre Pio.
How did that go?
Not well. He was shocked, warned her about slander, told her to pray, basically dismissed it as impossible.
Okay. And the Mother Superior?
Pretty much the same reaction, asked if she'd come to her senses about it all, basically shut her down.
So, hitting a brick wall inside the church.
Yeah.
How did she physically leave the convent then?
Just walked out. During visiting hours, nobody seemed to notice. She had hardly any money, like 17,000 lire. Yeah. The sources mentioned this family, the Sasseys, visitors of another patient, were really kind, took her in, helped her get that laundry job.
So what was her final motivation to go to the police after all that resistance?
She just couldn't square it. Why would the Mother Superior try so hard to shut her up if the deaths were natural? The official line was like, oh, it was a series after holidays.
Brunetti thought maybe it was about her vow of obedience.
He suggested that, yeah. But for Maria, that feeling, that sense that the number of deaths was wrong, it was just too strong to ignore. Makes you think, doesn't it? Breaking those deep rules because something feels fundamentally off.
Okay, so this is where Brunetti really starts the proper investigation, takes her story seriously.
Yeah, he starts pulling on those threads she gave him, and right away practical problems.
Like the exhumation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To actually prove anything about the deaths, they'd need to exhume the bodies. And that needs a court order
Or the family agrees,
Mm.
which isn't easy.
Nope. So that's a hurdle. Then he turns to his secret weapon.
Signorina Elettra.
He asks her to get the wills of the 5 people who died. And the sources really play up her skills, don't they?
They do. Calling it an illegal way. She gets information, discovering codes.
And she's apparently quite proud of it. Which is funny. Next to her stylish professional look, the notes even mention she's good with money, gives stock tips, overhears currency deals.
Shows how much they rely on these unofficial channels, I guess, when the normal ways are blocked or too slow.
Totally. He also gets Vianello on the case, asks him to talk to his brother.
The priest, Miotti.
Yeah, ask Miotti if he knows anything about Padre Pio Cavalletti, Maria's confessor from the Order's chapter house. There's a hint Miotti might not be thrilled about digging into church business.
And Brunetti uses his other contacts too, right? Calls a local guy.
Lele Bortoluzzi. A painter, but seems like he knows everyone and everything in Venice. Brunetti asks him about Dottor Fabio Messini.
The doctor running the San Leonardo nursing home, near where Brunetti's own mother is.
That's the one. And Lele comes through. Says Messini doesn't just run San Leonardo.
He runs 5 homes.
5. 1 in Venice, 4 on the mainland. And guess what?
Wow.
We're all staffed by the same order, the Sacred Cross.
Wow, okay, so that connects the homes and the order more broadly.
And Layla throws in a bit of gossip too, says Messini regularly visits 2 beautiful women. Adds a little personal angle, maybe.
So the investigation starts spreading out.
Yeah.
But it also follows Brunetti home, doesn't it?
It does. He's walking home through the market. There's this great detail about him seeing puntarelle, remembering it used to be food for rabbits, noting the price change.
Little slice of life detail.
Yeah. Gets back to his apartment, comfort, Paolo's cooking, and finds his daughter Chiara's report card.
And it's not all good news.
Nope. Great marks mostly, but unsatisfactory in religion. And the teacher's comments?
Asks too many questions. Disruptive behavior.
Ouch. You get the sense Brunetti's not happy about it. He asks Paola and their son Raffi about the teacher, Padre Luciano.
And they're reluctant to talk about him.
Very. Chiara blushes. Raffi asks, famous for what? Suggesting, there's already gossip or some kind of reputation.
And Paola's views on priests are mentioned too.
Yeah, she's described as una mangi preti, basically. Strongly anti-clerical. So that adds another dimension to how the family feels about this Padre Luciano.
Okay, back to the main case. Brunetti and Vianello start visiting the families of the deceased from Maria's list. First up, Signor Dapre.
He's the brother of one of the women. Described physically has a hump, walks sort of canted. He's living in his sister's place to guard her stuff. Specifically, this huge collection of snuff boxes. She had to go into the home after breaking her hip.
Oh, snuff boxes.
Yeah. Vinella gets a bit philosophical about it, apparently, how objects outlast us, thinking it's almost sinful to care too much about possessions.
And Vianello also thinks families should visit the elderly more often.
He does. Has strong opinions on that.
Next up, Contessa Crivoni. Sounds like an imposing figure.
Very. The description is vivid. Dark, oppressive room. Makes Brunetti think of Dante. Something about leaving the light behind. Even mentions her smell.
So, probably not a pleasant visit. How does Brunetti handle it?
Carefully. Uses flattery, her dedication to good works, helping Holy Mother Church. Then he uses this cover story.
Pretending to investigate charity scams.
Exactly. Asking about dodgy bequests to fake Romanian orphanages or questionable hospices, just to see how she reacts about her own will.
Does she bite?
No, she denies any shady donations. But then she shows this unexpected intellectual side.
Reading Darwin.
Voyage of the Beagle, in English. And she discusses how important it is. Quite a surprise.
And does she offer anything useful?
Just one cryptic thing as they leave, mentions some gossip she heard about a priest.
Another priest reference. Okay.
Yeah.
And the third visit, Signorina Lorini.
Daughter of Signor Lorini from the list. Her apartment sounds intense, mahogany sideboard covered in photos of priests.
Like rock star posters, the notes say. Addressed to her as Benedetta, beloved sister in Christ.
Yeah, and there's this weird smell, spotlights on a crucifix. The whole atmosphere sounds pretty overwrought.
What's she like?
Papery white skin, long nose, small chin, hard to tell her age. Dressed almost like a nun herself, long white skirt, black sweater. And she immediately corrects Brunetti on calling her Signorina. Wants a more formal address, presumably.
Brunetti uses the same scam charity pretense.
Yep. And she launches into this long, kind of rehearsed-sounding speech about how virtuous her father was.
But does she admit he gave money to the nursing home?
No. Flatly denies he gave or willed anything to them.
So these visits are exploring potential money motives, confirming connections to the order, bringing more clergy into the picture, and even Brunetti's home life is getting tangled up in it.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? The families, the home, the order, the priests, even Brunetti's daughter's school. It's like this whole ecosystem.
Brunetti then goes deeper into the institution itself, visiting the home where his own mother is.
Right. Not San Leonardo, but another one run by the Sacred Cross Order. He talks to the director, Dottoressa Alberti.
Described as large, focused on billing.
Yeah, seems more concerned with the money side, despite saying everyone gets equal treatment. Brunetti pretends he's thinking of moving his mother there.
Good cover. Lets him ask about facilities, and subtly ask about Sora Immacolata.
Exactly. He asks Sister Clara about Maria Testa, learns she was supposedly dismissed for refusing an order, left after some suggested penance.
And Sister Clara seemed tense talking about it.
Her voice was tight, the source notes say. And later it comes out she did talk to Padre Pio after Maria left.
He wouldn't say what Maria confessed?
Nope. Invoked the seal of confession, said anything Maria told him in confession was protected, couldn't reveal it.
Which brings us back squarely to Padre Pio Cavalletti. Brunetti goes to see him.
At the Order's chapter house, yeah. The description is quite detailed. Tall, thin, wearing his habit, maybe a Padova accent, warm voice, fiddling with a rosary.
Does he admit talking to Maria?
He confirms she's his spiritual child, yes. And he confirms she did talk to him about her concerns. Crucially, though, he says it was outside of confession.
Ah, so he could talk about that part.
Potentially. But anything she said in confession, he insists, is sealed. He speaks well of her, calls her honest, pious, devoted, but only within the convent context. Claims he doesn't really know her now in the world.
Okay, so Padre Pio's being careful, and then Signorina Elettra digs up something major, doesn't she?
Huge. She finds official papers, documents showing Opus Dei got permission to set up a mission in Venice.
Opus Dei. And who's heading it?
Padre Pio Cavalletti, with approval from the Patriarch and the Sacred Cross Order.
Wow. Okay, Opus Dei. That name carries. Wait, how do the sources frame this?
Pretty strongly. Signorina Elettra apparently calls it spiritual blackmail, compares it to how the church used power historically.
And there was gossip about Padre Pio and Opus Dei already, from Vianella's brother.
Yeah, Miotti had hinted at it. The sources really emphasize the secrecy around Opus Dei. Talk about perceived political power, papal backing, tax breaks, finances nobody can penetrate.
There's that strong comparison, too, about the fear they inspire.
Yeah, the sources mention comparisons to the SS or Gestapo, though it notes Paula thinks the Masons are a joke by comparison. It's clearly conveying a sense of deep fear and unknown influence surrounding Opus Dei in these accounts.
Signorina Elettra thinks knowing more might just make them more scared.
Exactly. It paints Opus Dei through these sources as this powerful hidden force operating behind the scenes.
That definitely adds a dark institutional layer. And Elettra also finds dirt on Padre Luciano, Chiara's teacher.
She does. Gets a file from her contact in the Patriarch's office. Same person who knew about the Contessa's gossip, apparently.
What's in the file?
His background. A worrying incident at seminary involving a child on a train.
What happened there?
It was basically dismissed, blamed on the girl's imagination. Also mentions he wasn't a great student, spent 20 years in Vicenza, then got transferred recently to San Polo where he teaches religion.
And Elettra's source is scared. Needs secrecy.
Absolutely. She mentions the fear of what would happen to us if the source got out. So we're not just talking about potential financial crimes or nursing home neglect anymore. The threads are leading into really sensitive, maybe dangerous territory within powerful religious bodies.
Yeah, it feels like the different strands, the local stuff, the big institutions, the secret groups, even personal failings are all starting to knot together.
It's exactly that, a complex web.
And just when it feels like it couldn't get more complicated, violence erupts. Maria Testa is attacked.
Yeah, it really suddenly raises the stakes. She gets hit by a car on the Lido, ends up in the hospital, conditions precarious.
How do they find out?
Signor Sassi calls the man from the family who helped her get the job, and there's that detail about the police guard, Alvis.
Just reading comics, not paying attention, frustrating.
Very. And Paola's reaction is telling, isn't it, when she hears about the attack?
Immediate certainty. She thinks it's attempted murder, right?
Yeah.
And that any story about Maria stealing or hurting someone is just planted.
Exactly, likely planted by someone in authority, she thinks. And she has that cynical take on gossip.
How it thrives in isolation.
Yeah.
Especially if there is no sex.
Yeah, her perspective adds this layer of worldly wisdom, or perhaps cynicism, about how these situations play out.
While Maria's in the hospital, there's another death.
Signor Depre, the snuff box collector, found dead from a fall, broken neck.
Paola's reaction is just sympathy. Rotten luck.
Initially, yeah. But Brunetti goes to the scene, investigates properly.
What does he find?
Details. Floodwater in the apartment. Dupre's wearing indoor shoes, but they have gray scuff marks on the heels.
Suggesting maybe he was dragged or slipped.
It's ambiguous.
Yeah.
The medical examiner, Rizzardi, says instant death, broken neck. Admits falls, like that can happen with Dupre's condition. But he won't officially rule out being hit or pushed. He's careful.
What else does Brunetti find searching the place?
Snuff boxes everywhere, obviously. But also papers, utility bills, articles about painkillers. And the photographer finds something.
Faint parallel lines on the floor.
Yeah, but they're cautious. Could be anything, a suitcase, a chair dragged. Nothing definite pointing to foul play. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, so things are escalating. Maria attacked, Dupre dead under possibly suspicious circumstances, and it all seems to come to a head at the hospital.
Yeah, and Brunetti himself gets hurt.
Right, his arm is bothering him. Turns out it's infected tweed threads from his jacket, gotten a scratch or something. Ends up needing surgery, but he pushes to leave quickly.
And Vianello meets him with more bad news.
Signorina Lorini is gone. Moved.
Moved to a private clinic in Rome, run by the Sacred Cross. Electra confirmed it.
Oh.
And worse, Maria Testa has disappeared from the hospital.
Vanished. But they had guards.
Vianello says they did. He even stopped Padre Pio from visiting Maria. Apparently went to their boss, Pada, but Vianello lied and said Maria refused the visit.
Why did he stop Padre Pio?
Gut feeling, maybe? Protecting Maria? Anyway, a nurse later told Maria that Padre Pio had tried to visit, but police stopped him. Maria seemed troubled, but also glad. Relieved, maybe.
Okay, so how did she disappear?
After Vianello blocked Padre Pio, the Mother Superior called the hospital, requesting Maria be transferred to their clinic for care.
Ah, and then she was just gone.
Gone. The guards had been removed by then, though Vianello and some others were still keeping a loose eye on the place. The system moved fast.
And this leads to the climax, really. Brunetti finds Maria. Where?
In the psychiatric ward, and while he's there, Signorina Lorini shows up.
Lorini? The one with the priest photos? What does she do?
It's chilling. She makes this declaration, says she was sent by the Holy Father.
The Holy Father, is that?
It's not immediately clear, but Lorini says she was sent to administer God's justice because Maria was God's enemy.
Wow.
She connects money to it, too, says the earnings of the godless must be given to do God's holy work. Brunetti clarifies here, though. She wasn't involved in the financial scheme itself. Her motives are different.
What are her motives, then? Does she confess to anything?
She confesses to killing Dupre.
She killed him. Why?
She says he blasphemed and asked for money. She reported this to the Holy Father,
This mysterious figure again.
who apparently told her God's will was that sin and sinners must be destroyed, so she acted on it. Took it as a divine command. It's deeply disturbing. Fanaticism weaponized.
Absolutely terrifying. Who is this Holy Father?
Well, just as that sinks in, Padre Pio Cavalletti arrives.
Padre Pio. What does he say?
He claims he heard Maria's confession after the attack, after she presumably confessed things to Brunetti, says he gave her spiritual consolation.
And uses that phrase, "Thou hast said it."
Yes, which sounds like, well, like he's twisting her confession to fit some narrative, maybe implying she confirmed something divine or necessary about what happened. It's ambiguous, but feels manipulative.
How does Brunetti react?
He loses it, grabs Padre Pio, yells, "We know about you!"
And Padre Pio.
His response is ice cold, "And we know about you!" Then he leaves. It's a direct threat, an assertion of power. We know things, we have influence, back off.
Chilling. What about Maria through all this?
Her reaction is simple, heartbreaking almost. She asks Brunetti to stay, and then just says, survive. That's her focus.
Brunetti leaves, hoping she can just disappear, find her Vita Nuova safely.
Yeah, hoping she gets away from all this. The system clearly wants to crush or contain anyone who threatens it.
There's one loose end, though. Padre Luciano Benevento. Chiara's teacher.
Right. Brunetti confronts him, finds Benevento furious.
Why is he furious?
He's got a reassignment letter being sent to some miserable parish, he says, after all I've done for the church. He's threatening to complain to the patriarch.
But Brunetti tells him.
Calmly tells him it's not a parish assignment. Implying something else, something worse, maybe.
And Benevento clicks.
Mm.
Realizes Brunetti knows.
Yeah. Knows about the complaints from the girls in his catechism class. He dismisses them, calls them lies of hysterical girls.
Typical deflection. What does Brunetti do?
Gives him an ultimatum. You have 2 days. Get out of town.
So a different kind of institutional handling. Not a cover-up exactly, but quiet removal to avoid scandal.
It seems like it. It highlights another way institutions protect themselves, doesn't it? Moving problematic people quietly, rather than addressing the root cause or seeking real justice for victims. Contrasts with the more overt silencing and potential violence seen elsewhere.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've gone from this quiet complaint
To uncovering layers of institutional power, the religious order, the potential Opus Dei connection described in sources, financial motives, outright fanatical violence driven by some hidden figure, and personal misconduct handled internally.
It really shows how things that seem separate deaths in a home, a hit and run, a suspicious fall, a kid's report card, church gossip, a powerful secret society can all be tangled together.
Definitely. Driven by hidden agendas, protected by systems that seem to value secrecy and reputation above all else.
So for you, listening, what does this all mean? It kind of highlights how easily truth and justice can get buried, right? When you have these powerful, closed systems, religious, financial, political, whatever.
It shows the massive challenge anyone faces trying to get answers or make change when the system itself wants to stay hidden, wants to protect itself rather than expose wrongdoing.
It really makes you think about what might be going on beneath the surface in institutions we see every day.
Exactly. Which leads us to a final thought, something for you to mull over. In a world where institutions, big organizations, wield so much power and often keep things very close to the chest, how do we tell the difference? How do we distinguish genuine faith or good intentions from manipulation, from fanaticism, or just from that powerful instinct institutions have to cover things up?
And if you do feel something is wrong, deeply wrong, how do you even start to seek justice or find the truth when the very powers you might appeal to could be part of the problem, looking the other way or actively working to keep things quiet?